Should we eat fish oil? Does it help reduce heart disease?
Fish oil does not help reduce heart disease. Then this whole omega-3 fatty acid thing is just, it just won't die because people are so invested in it. But you'll find these tiny little studies out there, not particularly well done, that'll show a minor benefit. But when you do meta-analyses where you're looking and crunching lots and lots of data, there's just no benefit. So you just have to eat a good diet. And I think the omega-3 issue, which is what the fish oil thing is based on, it comes from this change in our diet. I think it's it has been a negative change in our diet, where we used to eat a diet where the ratio of omega-3 to 6 fatty acids was 1 to 1 to 1 to 4. You ate as much as or a little bit more of omega-6, which comes in land animals and polyunsaturated oils. Well, what's happened is land animals and polyunsaturated oils gone up a lot in the diet. So this ratio now is like 1 to 25 to 1 to 50. Well, the answer to that is not to take supplements to normalize the ratio, it's to change the diet to normalize the ratio. So this idea, and it's still pretty pervasive, that you can do bad things for your health and take a pill and fix it, gosh, I wish that was true, because my days in the office would be so short. I mean, we just have everybody lined up, here's your fish oil, here's your this, here's your that. Wouldn't have to have much conversation, learning new skills, but it just doesn't work. It's a pipe dream.
Are there any conflicts of interest in the cancer industry? Can you explain that?
The conflicts of interest in the cancer industry are as bad, maybe worse in some respects, as in the rest of the medical field. The worst part about it is that oncologists can sell, we wouldn't think of it that way, chemotherapy drugs in the office and mark it up and make money. And it constitutes a significant percentage of their office revenue. Now, I want to be clear about something. I'm a capitalist, and I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but it should be disclosed, because then it might help a person understand why their oncologist is negative about anything but the chemotherapy. And I don't think oncologists show up at work every day and say, gosh, I really want to put a room addition on my house, so how much chemotherapy do I have to sell? But, you know, it's a bad system. It takes good, you've heard about putting the good apple in the bad barrel, right? So medicine is a bad barrel, and we put good apples in the bad barrel and they get spoiled and then we're shocked about it, right? So I think it should be disclosed, because it's a horrible conflict of interest. When you come into my office, we have a store and we sell foods that we make and this sort of thing. And I think almost any thinking person knows that I make a profit on that. So it's fully disclosed. But can you imagine if I disguised all of that and somehow was keeping the fact that I make money on this a secret? It's a nefarious, it just is not right, okay? Even a person who is a good person in that system becomes a suspicious person because it isn't disclosed, you know?
What does the science, research, data, and studies say about the safety and effectiveness of chemotherapy?
Well, chemotherapy is a difficult topic from the standpoint that you have these polarizing views. Actually, the cancer industry and cancer treatment is polarizing. So the best treatment, in my experience, is when people, first of all, make evidence-based decisions. And there are two types of decision-making in cancer that are bad. One is, I'm just going to do what this genius at the medical center at the university says, because look at all those diplomas on his wall, he must know everything, which that really doesn't mean anything. You need to check it out. It's like going into a car dealership and the guy has sold more cars than anybody else in North America. I'm really glad. He probably does know a lot about cars, and he's a hard worker and all that, but that may be a reason to check him out a little further, or check out the car a little further, right? So, the first thing, that's a bad way to make decisions. Another one is in an emotional state, where you're being pressured by family and friends to do what the genius at the medical center said, because after all, you went to Harvard, right? So the first thing I tell a cancer patient is settle down. Let's get past the emotional part of this, get rid of a little bit of the charge, and let's look at data. Now this is where, what do you think of chemotherapy and cancer treatment comes in. Indiscriminately administered chemotherapy for many types of cancer doesn't work at all. In fact, it may finish off the patient earlier. But targeted chemotherapy, smaller doses that might be timed with intermittent fasting to potentiate the chemotherapy, in conjunction with a whole treatment plan of things, that because it's about everything. It's about your emotional state. It's about why did you get this cancer? If you don't change your diet, you probably could get it again. If you don't look at the emotional underpinnings of cancer, most people think they got cancer for a reason if you question them enough. So you might have to fix that. If you're a person who's historically been always the giver, I do everything for everybody, but nobody does anything for me, maybe that's the thing you need to fix, right? And I'm not saying ignore the biological cause of the cancer. You have to do that too. But cancer is a complex disease. It's only going to be solved with good, integrated programs that look at the totality of you, how you got this cancer, and how you're going to get over it. And chemotherapy, some chemotherapy may be a part of it, some radiation, sometimes surgery, sometimes not. Again, each thing evaluated, looking at risks, benefits, what are the outcomes, or should I be looking at something else? Now, this is why this becomes so difficult. I get hate mail from people who say, I can't believe you would ever recommend chemotherapy. Well, when evidence shows that it's the right thing to do, you recommend it. In other words, stop trying to pick a camp. How about we just let evidence drive the decisions? Take the labels off of everything. Traditional, alternative, that doesn't mean anything to me. It's all about making evidence decisions.
Are statin drugs helpful? What does the science say about the pros and cons of statin drugs?
Statin drugs are like a lot of drugs. They're helpful for a particular group of people. So it's the widespread prescribing of statin drugs. I think your number needed to treat in the general population is something like 400, which is ridiculous. That means 399 people don't benefit from taking the drug. It's all side effects, no benefit. But if you are a person who has a condition called familial hypercholesterolemia, where no matter what you do, no matter what you eat, no matter how careful you are about everything, your cholesterol is 380, you're going to benefit from taking a statin drug. So the key is, and this is another one, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Statins aren't all bad. They're just all bad for most people. So you have to figure out, are you in the group of people who benefit? One thing to keep in mind about any drug is that the smaller the abnormality, the less likely you will benefit from taking a drug for it. So whether it's cholesterol, in which you would prescribe a statin drug, or blood pressure, when you would prescribe an ACE inhibitor or a beta blocker, minor abnormalities, you're probably not going to benefit. It's the gross abnormality that really benefits from drugs.
What do you think of the USDA and USDA Dietary Guidelines?
Well, I've been involved in testifying in front of the USDA Dietary Guidelines Committee, which is generally populated with conflicted people. They have a couple of people who aren't conflicted, don't work for the agricultural industries or food companies and that sort of thing, don't take research money from them. The problem is an institutional conflict of interest. That's the big problem. So you've got an agency that was set up under Abraham Lincoln's administration, by the way, to be an advocacy organization for farmers and to teach them better farming practices. They actually started with good intention, and they did good work, because at the time what was happening is farmers would till the land, and they really weren't very responsible about land usage. And then when they torch the land, they move west. Well, you move west enough, you end up in the Pacific Ocean and we all starve. Not good, right? So the USDA did some very good work in the beginning to keep that from happening. But someplace along the line, they decided that they were going to be the organization or agency that would develop dietary guidelines for Americans. And the institutional conflict is, your goal is to help farmers. That's how you were chartered. Now you're going to tell people what to eat. Well, if you tell the truth about what to eat, you might actually tell people not to eat some of the things that your actual clientele, the farmers, produce. And that's never going to happen. They're always going to cave to the interests of farmers and special interest groups. So the guidelines they're getting better incrementally, but they could be made better in one go-round if we just threw all that problem out and dealt strictly with what the science shows about the best diet to eat.